Hello, everybody. I am finally back trying to present another message. There's been a lot going on. Some of you may or may not know my daughter got married this past weekend, and it's just been a whirlwind of activity preparing for that and going through that beautiful ceremony. So I'm trying to get back in the groove a little bit. I know I've been very slow about this. So, as I've said before, when the Holy Spirit gives me messages, I write them down. So I've been writing things down so I wouldn't forget, since I've been a little slow on the recording process. So I'm going to jump right in there. I only get like 10 minutes for social media stuff, so I want to make it quick but effective at the same time. So this message is entitled Religion versus Relation. This is a big topic, and I know that I can't possibly do it justice in 10 minutes, but I am going to try to just hit on some points for you to think about. So, there's a huge difference between religion and then relation. There's so many people that will show up for church every single Sunday, every time the doors are open, and maybe even hold themselves a little bit higher than those who don't show up the same. And worshiping God and coming together as a unit, this is important. We know this, the Bible talks about it, and we can go ahead and just agree that we know this is important and move on, because that's not really the topic of this message, so I don't want to get caught up spending too much time on that. What this message is about is relationship with God and how that actually trumps everything else out there. In the Old Testament, in the Isaiah chapter 1, the Lord hides his eyes from the sacrifice of the people. Now, this is a really big thing that happens, and you might say, well, why? Weren't they supposed to offer sacrifices? Yes, of course they were. There was a covenant. They were under a covenantal agreement of what they had to do to atone for their sins. But these people are going through the motion, and this is compared to religion, going to church. That is a motion, that's an action. You can do that without feeling it in your heart. You can also do it feeling it in your heart, which is optimal, however. But at this point, a lot was going on with the children of Israel, just a lot. They are doing all kinds of things they're not supposed to be doing. So just for a minute, let's understand what is meant by covenant, so you'll get a bigger picture of what's happening here. A lot of people hear this word, but they're not 100% sure what it means. So a covenant is like a contract. There are two parties in a covenant, and they each agree to provide something to the other, and that creates pretty much a contract. And if one person defaults, if they don't do what they've agreed to do, the other person can consider the contract null and void. It's been breached, and so they are no longer obligated to do what they agreed to do. Now, when you're in a contract with God like that, a covenantal agreement, I do not want to be guilty of causing God to no longer do his part of the deal. But this is exactly what is happening with the children of Israel. God has promised to live with them, to dwell with them, to give them the promised land. I mean, they are about to have the most cush, wonderful life ever. And all they have to do are the things that God asked them to do. But they are failing miserably, very miserably. One of the things that was very important in this covenant was social justice, like how they treat others and what was going on. And the other thing, which was the biggest thing, was that they were to worship no other gods, just one God, the one they're in the covenant with. That's the only God they're supposed to worship, and they are going against this. They can't even manage to do just this thing. So God says, you know what? I'm kind of at the end of my rope with you guys. My patience is done. I'm about to turn my back on you all the way. And when I do that, guess what? You're nothing to me. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. So he sends Jeremiah to warn them they get warning after warning after warning. It's like, you know, when the parent tells the child, I'm going to count to 3 and you better do this. And you're like, okay, 1, 2, 2.5, you know, 2 3/4. You know, you just really don't want to have to enforce the punishment that you said you were going to enforce. And that's what God is doing. He knows he has to do what he says, but he's warning them. And he gives them chance after chance. Please do what you're supposed to do. But they're not doing it. And then suddenly they realize they've pushed it too far, and they decide they're going to offer up sacrifice. Hurry, let's do it. But see, this is a perfect example of religion versus relationship. The people are doing all these offensive things, and their sacrifice is just a religious effort to appease God, because they're not changing their actions. In Micah 6, 7 through 8, would the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams and with 10,000 rivers of olive oil? Shall I offer my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. So when God turns his eyes away from their sacrifice, he is basically saying, your actions mean nothing because they lack sincerity. And that sincerity only comes from relationship with God. You know, when you were a kid and you're going to fight with your sibling or your cousin or whomever, and your parents made you hug and make up. Boy, was that hard to do sometimes. They would make you shake hands or hug each other and say you're sorry. And you know, most often kids are like, sorry. You know, we all did that. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You didn't mean that. You did not mean that sorry at all. You just wanted to get on with your day and get on with what's going on and get out of trouble, basically. That's what they're doing. They're just saying, sorry. You know, but they don't mean it. What if during that time you had gone to your sibling or gone to your parent and truly, emotionally, remorsefully made a plea for forgiveness? Do you think it could have possibly had a different effect? Would the punishment have been different? Would the effect on the other person have been different? You know, that's all that God asks for from us. He doesn't expect us to be perfect, but he does want us to truly be remorseful when we ask his forgiveness. And it's so simple. We are now under a new covenant with God. And this new covenant makes it so easy for us to get forgiveness. We don't have to offer up a lamb and sacrifice. We don't have to offer up expensive oils or perfumes. We don't have to do anything but actually be remorseful and sincere and ask for forgiveness. And then it's there. Like, how much easier could it get than that? So, which one are you going to be? Are you going to be that insincere child that says, sorry, now let's keep playing? Are you going to be the one who truly asks for forgiveness and regrets hurting the other person? Because I'm here to tell you, you can go to church every time the door is opened. But until you truly have a relationship with God and until you truly ask forgiveness, you're getting nowhere, literally getting nowhere. You're violating your agreement with God. You want him to fulfill his promises when you're not fulfilling yours. Right now, under this new covenant, it's so easy. It's so simple. But there's going to come a time where God says, I've had enough. And he's going to be turning his back on this world and anyone in it who has not truly accepted him and asked for forgiveness of their sins. You see, so many of us treat disobedience in a manner that reflects culture, not biblical teaching. For example, if you break the law by speeding, you pay a ticket and all's forgiven. If you rob a bank, you go to prison, you serve your time. There's no emotion in that. It's a cause and effect. Culture teaches us that we can hurt someone and we can say, I'm sorry, and all should be fine. The price is paid by the words. However, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way with God's. The words do not cause the pain of the other person to go away. They don't make it disappear. Only through a relationship with that person and care and compassion and true remorse and a desire to correct the mistake can the pain go away. And that's the same thing with God. We can't treat God as a law book with no emotions. Culture has taught us this. Culture teaches us that we can do this. God is a loving, kind, and gracious God, but he has emotions and feelings. And when we do things against him, we actually hurt him. And to correct that, we have to be sincere. God makes himself vulnerable to us. He loves us unconditionally. He's as vulnerable as you can get with us. Is that something you really want to take advantage of? Is that something you want to take for granted? Is that something you want to lose? Not me. So this has been a quick little message on a huge subject, and I would love to have more time, but I don't. I hope everyone has a fabulous day and really thinks about the difference between religion and relation. And I hope that you choose the relation because that's where it's at. I will see you guys later. Bye.